Here we go, Las Vegas, at 12 noon on this Monday, December 11th, 2023. Welcome to Studio 31 at City National Arena in downtown Summerlin, Nevada, broadcasting live on all of our social channels and, of course, on our flagship radio station, Fox Sports Las Vegas. Hello again, everybody. Dan Tuva, Gary Lawless with you on this Monday. Gary Lawless, it is an exciting time for the Golden Knights, not only because they have won 3 in a row, improving their father's trip standings to 9-0-1 in franchise history, but boy, oh boy, there they are. Not only tops in the league, a little bit of clearance, number 1 in the NHL.
Nice sweater.
Nice sweater that you have as well.
Dan and I are twinning today.
And for the folks on the radio who might not be able to see what we're wearing,
yes.
Would you like to paint the picture?
Well, they are, what do you call this, a quarter zip.
Yeah.
Has the nice shoulders, are a little bit of a different material, and then it's bordered around the sleeves and the waist. There's a pocket in the front so you can keep your hands warm. And then it has the Winter Classic Vegas V logo. So these are Winter Classic items.
That's the hook. It's a Winter Classic.
It's got the patch.
Apparel.
Winter Classic patch on the left shoulder, the NHL on the right, so it's good stuff.
Yeah, it looks good on me as well as you.
If you do say so yourself.
And it looks good down in the Arsenal downstairs.
I think they're moving fast.
Yeah.
Someone came up to me today, and Bruce Cassidy actually said, where can I get one of those? And I said downstairs, but someone else said there's not many left.
Hey, get them while you can. I just walked through the store not 20 minutes ago, and there are all kinds of items. They've got stuff in there that wasn't there last week or before we went on the road, whenever that was, because the Knights have played 10 out of 13 on the road, and now, of course, with a home game last night, 4 straight at home.
And they were almost out of It Hurts to Win, and they re-upped. They got some more of those in. The book put together by the Golden Knights communications and content staff, and they were almost out of them, and now they've got some more. So my name's on it, and Gordon is as well, but it's our whole group. And I say this all the time: forget the writing, because that's the subjective whether you like that part of it or not. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful book. The layout, the pictures that were selected, the graphics, the gilt pages. It's
a keepsake.
100%. And if you have a Golden Knights fan in your family, you want to make them happy, get them that book. It will, first of all, if it's someone that you don't want to listen to, they'll be engrossed all day. They're looking at the pages.
There's your strategy.
Yes.
Yeah, I will say that it is both aesthetically and intellectually intriguing.
All right.
It's very, very nice. How many of them do you think you've autographed?
I bet you close to 1,000.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been.
And there will be more.
Yeah.
Especially from me.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
It Hurts to Win, available now. And that, of course, is with the holidays upon us. Happy Hanukkah. We're celebrating Hanukkah right now. Christmas is just a few weeks away. Knights have 3 more home games before they go on the road for 3 with Carolina, Tampa, and Florida before the Christmas break. And then just after that, a couple of games, Anaheim, L.A. And then after that, Gary, it will be the aforementioned Winter Classic in Seattle at T-Mobile Park, not T-Mobile Arena. That's here. That's an arena. T-Mobile Park is the home to the Seattle Mariners in Seattle. It has a retractable roof. You and I will be there. And today's Nighttime at Noon episode will be heavily centered on the Winter Classic.
And we're not going alone
this
time. The last time when we went to Tahoe, we flew commercial, and now I forget. We got there, and we thought there was going to be a shuttle for us, And yeah, we got some shady character gave us a drive from
from
Reno to Tahoe. Yeah,
from the airport. Yeah, once we got to Tahoe, it was great.
That guy started telling stories about. I used to drive for Huey Lewis, and he had like all these people that he drove for.
I have his business card just in case we ever go back.
I shouldn't have called him a shady character.
No, he was. He was a character.
He was a character.
Yes.
Not shady. So let's just for our guests, we for our listeners, we got great guests today.
Yeah, that's where I'm leading. The Winter Classic is not that far away, and therefore the path to this extremely exciting event, which, it's not the first game the Knights will have played outdoors, but it's the first one that fans can attend, and the path to that event will be captured by the same group of folks who produced The Quest for the Cup. Wonderful feature, documentary, multi-part series, and Eric Polland, producer of Quest for the Cup, and then, of course, engineering the Road to the Winter Classic show. He is with us in studio in just minutes. That is going to be a thrilling, fun conversation. We have been around Eric quite a bit. We've been very fortunate because the Knights have been good, so there's been reason for those folks to cover the Golden Knights. We're going to get to chat with him right here.
Yeah, and we'll get him to explain this. Like, when you sit down and you watch one of these things, there is so much work into it. First of all, there has to be a vision, and I think the vision is to a great degree Eric's, but also Steve Mayer at Chief Content Officer for the NHL. He would have some input in that as well. But Eric's the boots on the ground, and he sees the people and figures out the stories that are happening. And then organically, and then puts them on celluloid. Can you still use that term?
Eric says yes.
All right.
Eric says yes. Yeah. We defer to the experts.
And gets the sound, and someone's got to write the script. I've done some. We did a series, kind of a behind the scenes series with the Nighthawks a few years ago, and I got to participate in writing that, but mostly in voicing it, and it's all that stuff it's done so well. We love Eric; he's become a friend, but he's super uber talented.
These are the best people in the business.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the Stanley Cup Final, it's the Winter Classic. Yeah. You've got the best people in the business, and it's great. So we're going to have Eric here in a few moments. And if you're interested in how do I watch? Well, you probably have already seen Quest for the Cup. We advise you to go check that out as well. But this venture, which again, of course, is going to be broadcast in parts leading up to the Winter Classic. Road to the Winter Classic premieres Wednesday at 3:30 Pacific time, 3:30 p.m. the afternoon on Wednesday. So obviously that is going to be on TNT leading up to their coverage of the Winter Classic itself on New Year's Day. It's also streaming on Max. It's also going to be on Sportsnet in Canada. So we will step aside. We're going to hear from Eric Polland, and then later on in the program, Gary, Eddie Olczyk will join us, Seattle Kraken broadcaster, TNT broadcaster. He'll be broadcasting that game for the national audience, and, of course, a former NHL player and coach.
Can't wait to talk to him.
Yeah. So Eddie Olczyk is coming up later in our show. Eric Polland joins us next. He's the producer for not only the Quest for the Cup, but also the Road to the Winter Classic. That is straight ahead. First, we wanted, while you watch the Golden Knights, the games, of course, available for free. Scripps Sports is bringing all locally broadcast games to fans for free with a team's broadcast territory. Fans can now watch the Golden Knights on Scripps Sports through Vegas 34. Visit NHL.com/Vegas Golden Knights for more information about Scripps Sports and television broadcasts this season. You are listening to Nighttime at Noon on Fox Sports Las Vegas. 12 past 12 here on Nighttime at Noon, Fox Sports Las Vegas. Dan Duva, Gary Lawless with you today. Knights coming off the victory yesterday in a shootout. An exciting finish against the San Jose Sharks after winning on the road in Dallas. Before that in St. Louis. Knights have won their last 3 points in 8 straight, number 1 in the National Hockey League. We've got our guest live in studio, Eric Polland, joining us in just a moment. First, we'll tell you about the VGK Holiday Packs featuring tickets to 3 games and a player bobblehead starting at just $299. Get the Jack Pack or the Captain Pack and bring home the beautiful bobbleheads. You can see we've got on our video stream, we've got the bobbleheads here in studio. If you're watching, you see the dates for the Captain Pack and the Jack Pack. If you're on the radio, you could visit VegasGoldenKnights.com to get all the details. Give the gift of holiday cheer this season with Vegas Golden Knights hockey. Again, you can get more information at VegasGoldenKnights.com. Welcome back inside Studio 31. If you're watching our video stream, you could see the bobbles. Can I make them bobble here? There we go. There's Jack and Mark, and here we are, Dan and Gary, and between us, Eric Polland. Hi, Eric. How are you?
Hi, guys. I wish I would have gotten the memo to wear my sweater.
Yeah, sorry.
But I think I match.
Yeah, no, the colors are right on. Eric Polland is the producer for Quest for the Cup and the Road to the Winter Classic. And we'll be watching these episodes leading up to the Winter Classic itself on New Year's Day. My first question, Eric, is about the team that produces this. Gary touched on it just a few minutes ago. And people, of course, have seen much of your work, but they have rarely seen you and your crew, the people who put it together. Can you give us a little snapshot on what it takes to put this all together and who makes it happen?
Yeah, sure. You mentioned Steve Mayer and then Russ Sabrini at the NHL. The tentacles start with them and then go to Steve Stern, who's our executive producer, Tim Mullen, Jackie Decker, and they're our lead editor and our lead producer. And then Jason Katz does the other teams. I do the Vegas Gold. I do the West usually. Jason does the East. So Jason is with Seattle with Rob Newman and Jimmy Baglino. If you've seen the Stanley Cup over the long-haired guys,
right?
And I'm with Steve LeMay, who happens to live here, and Jake Pilastri. We had Ben Sortino last year as our sound guy, but he wasn't available. And the vision kind of comes from all of us, and you guys, and Nate and Garrett and India, and talking about who's doing what, and magically, we stepped into the Dad's Trip, which was so much fun to just be around those guys because it's almost like the team 20 years from now, what they're going to be like. And you could almost figure out who went with who. That would have been a fun thing for us to do if whose dad is this, whose dad is that. And we wound up spending some time with Rob Stone, who is humble and has a great sense of humor and is interesting and has the same glint in his eye as his son Mark does, and what a treasure he was, and that'll be one of the things you'll see tomorrow night.
You've interviewed Rob. I've known Rob a long time from when I lived in Winnipeg, and we interviewed him right after the Stanley Cup on the ice. Might have been my favorite interview.
Yeah,
he was really good. And it's funny. Mark is reserved, but plain spoken at the same time. And he mentioned a couple of times his dad had that expressive Mark Stone T-shirt on, and I said, "What's the story behind there?" And he goes, "He loves his son." And it was just to hear Mark put it. It was put perfectly. He just distilled it into that. He loves his son. Pretty good stuff.
Yeah. Eric, when you think about all of the different stories that you have uncovered here with the Golden Knights, I wonder, from your experience following the team back in the spring and now coming back to follow the Golden Knights, if that has helped you focus your storytelling and helping you maybe a jump start for these weeks leading up to the Winter Classic.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And then the relationships are in place. Even with you guys and with Nate and Garrett and India, it's just so easy. It's like, okay, here's what we'd like to try and do. And we had a Zoom call with them, and here's the things that are going on, and we made our list, and we checked it twice, and then we tried to just figure out what we're going to do. So each week will have some kind of theme. Last week was the dad strip. This week will be the fact that you're finally home for a long period of time.
Amazing.
Which,
4 days seems like an eternity. It's 4
Yeah.
games in a row here at home.
Yeah, so we're going to focus on that this week, and we'll kind of go from there. It'll probably be 1 or 2 games that we focus on each week with some off-ice things going on. And, it's funny. This morning I went to get coffee across the street from my hotel, and I was walking back, and a guy rolls down the window and goes, "Hey, no off days," and it's Bruce. We're talking at the intersection over by my hotel. It's just, it's kind of funny. All these serendipitous things just seem to happen, and but it's really just a wonderful organization. Everybody has been so nice to us from the second that we walked in last year, and we got on this magical ride with you guys. And as somebody who loves sports so much, to see it up close and personal, and then I tell this story all the time, to be on that parade route with our camera crew, and when we made that turn, it was at the Bellagio, right, onto the strip, and to see the sea of people. And I didn't even realize until William Karlsson, because we were on the right side of the strip going south, and all the people were on my right. And then when William Karlsson took the cup across the street, I didn't even realize all those people were there.
Amazing.
And it's just an incredible place. And who thought that Vegas would become the hotbed of hockey? And it's just incredible. It's really incredible.
Yeah, it has been thrilling, entertaining, and what I think about as a journalist, we aim on our broadcast to inform, to entertain, and also to document. And what you do is to inform and entertain, but this is also a document. I'm sure, because I will still go back and watch, for example, Bob Murphy narrating the 1969 New York Mets, capturing that a little bit different here in 2023. And if you're interested in watching the first run of these programs, the dates are the Wednesdays leading up to the Winter Classic. That's December the 13th, the 20th, the 27th, and then, of course, on January 1st, it's on TNT. Times are 3:30 Pacific time, 3:30 Pacific time, and streaming on Max. How do you think about that, knowing that what you're doing will be watched by folks now leading up to the Winter Classic, the quest for the Cup? People are going to be watching and reliving this for many years to come. I mean, this is a true document, not only of one particular team, but this is sports history, what's happened in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it really is. And the hardest thing about going back as a producer is you look at things and you go, "Oh, I would have done that differently. I would have."
And stuff that ends up on the cutting room floor, too.
There's so much stuff.
And I know this could be a very difficult question, but have you thought of something that maybe, you would have, if you could have done anything to keep this in, that you had to cut?
The best thing was that we got to do the highlight film too, so we went back and were able to add some things in. And even that, though, our first cut was, 90-something minutes, and we lost, 15, 16 minutes out of that. But I think that we do a really good job, and it'd be impossible to get everything in. It really would be, because there's just so much stuff, and again, as the trust built up with the team, they let us stay in the locker room longer and longer and longer, and we were just privy to so many little moments, like Chandler Stevenson just saying to Jack after he got knocked out, "Hey, Jack, what happened?" "Oh, I just got the wind knocked out of me." Those are the moments that are just so simple yet so magical to really take the viewer, the fans behind the scenes.
You feel like you're right there. Gary and I have been at every game. Yeah. We call the game. Now we're high above ringside, and we talk to the players between periods, before the games, after the games. But then when we go back and watch some of the work that you've produced with your team, it's almost like another set of eyes. Like we get a new perspective on something that, even for the fans who were at the games, or maybe they listened to the broadcast, watched on TV, you go back and you relive it, and you get a whole different perspective on what happened.
Yeah, and that's where Steve LeMay is just a magician. He is the most unbelievable cameraman Rob Newman, and then the sound guys Jimmy Baglino, and last year during the playoff run is Ben Sortino, and now it's Jake Polastri, and just they're always in the right place. They are always in the right place. I don't have to tell them be here, be there. They're doing it before I'm thinking it, and they're veterans. They've been around this a long time. They go back. I think Rob is coming up like on his 26th Stanley Cup this year, and
Wow.
Steve has been around almost since the first Road to the Winter Classic shows, and and again, it's about the relationships and the trust that the team builds with you, that you build with the team, and then it just works. I mean, it just works, especially with this organization for us. And Jason Katz and Rob and Jimmy had the relationship with Tampa Bay when they won. So it was the same kind of thing, and it's really, really special, and I treasure it. I mean, I'm going to spend 75 nights in Las Vegas this year.
Wow.
I will, yeah. By the time this is all done, which
Wow.
is kind of crazy and kind of cool too.
They might add another 30 at the end of that too, right?
I hope so.
No, I mean if they go to the final again, you're going to get another good rattle there too.
Yeah, but that'll be 2024.
Yeah.
But I'm already coming back for you too in February with my wife. So
and the creative process, how do you you collect all of this stuff? Do you have a vision when you're doing it? Like you see something and you go, okay, that fits there, and you kind of start to piece it all together while you're doing it. Is that part of your editing process?
in my head, yes. I mean, but we're here to gather as much content as we can within our storylines. So the games are the games, and whatever kind of happens. The other day we went over with Bruce. We walked over to the arena with Bruce. So he'll be our linchpin going into the game, I would think. In terms of the creative process, we talked to to Jackie and Tim and Steve Stern back in New York, and we talk about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, and what our storylines are going to be and who they're going to be. And this team has its stars. It has its Mark Stones and its Jack Eichels and its Marchessaults, and Bruce is always a great character. And going in, we thought we'd do something with Aiden Hill, but now it's going to be Logan Thompson, hopefully, and that's all on Nate,
Yeah.
and his crew, and they're just wonderful.
I always know that when I'll be writing something, and I'll have I'll get some quotes, and I'll be observing, and I'll be like, okay, this is what it's going to be, and then I'll start to listen to the tape, and I'll start to write, and all of a sudden I'm like, I know that it's this, and maybe 85% of the time you have that path and you end up going down it, but then when you're going back over it all, something else will pop up and surprise you. And an editor said to me one time, "Don't fall in love with anything too early," and because you have to be open to having your mind changed.
Yeah, and that happens. I mean, Aiden gets hurt,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden Logan plays 3 games in a row, and he's going to be, a big story going into the Winter Classic. So, of course, things happen all the time, and I think the hardest part is just to gather everything together. I mean, I remember I hadn't been in an edit room in a long time. I've been doing mostly field producing. And when I did the highlight film after we did the quest for the Stanley Cup, I couldn't believe how much footage there was. I just couldn't believe.
How many hours? Do you have any guess?
Hours of footage in terms of what we shot, plus the games.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, for each series, we had 25 minutes on the Edmonton series with the first rough cut.
Yeah.
And, we kind of culled it down to 20, and we could have kept going. The games were so great. They were fantastic.
Wonder how many gigabytes or terabytes of video.
Yeah, it's a ton.
It's not just film in a canister like it used to be.
And plus the interviews, but
Right.
you kind of frame everything around the interviews. Mm-hmm. So that's how we do it, and then we'll write our ins and outs of the interviews, and you guys were wonderful in doing those interviews for us for that highlight film, and thank you for that.
Well, thank you.
And But yeah, it was overwhelming. So I started on July 5th, and my wife said, "I haven't seen you." It's like July 21st, and she said to me, "Are you ever coming out of that office? Because you do everything remotely now, and everything's in real time." My editor, whose name was Eric Polland, ironically, was in
confusing.
Bend, Oregon. He would make an edit. He'd hit save, and I could see it immediately. It's crazy. It's crazy how the technology is coming. It's all high def, and it still looks beautiful. And but yeah, it's an overwhelming amount of footage. And these guys are doing it. Tim, Jackie, Steve, Mike Appy, and Eric Polland is back on, and they're just editing round the clock.
Yeah, the turnaround is incredible. You and I have talked about that, trying to get audio from a radio broadcast and get things turned around. And, of course, first episode on the Road to the Winter Classic airs 3:30 Pacific time Wednesday. 3:30 Pacific Wednesday on TNT. It'll also be streaming on Max. If you're in Canada, it will air on Sportsnet and Sportsnet 1. 4 episodes leading up to the Winter Classic. Of course, the Winter Classic is January 1st in Seattle. Broadcast dates December 13th, the 20th, the 27th, and then, of course, on January 1st on TNT and Max. Our guest has been producer of Quest for the Cup and also the Road to the Winter Classic with us here in Las Vegas, Eric Polland. Eric, thanks very much for coming by.
Thank you guys for having me. This was great.
Congratulations. Great stuff.
Thank you guys.
Wonderful to watch your work and to see you guys in action. Thanks for including all those radio calls, by the way. We love that. We will step aside. When we come back, we'll get you ready for the Golden Knights' upcoming home games, and later on we'll hear from Eddie Olczyk. You are listening to Nighttime at Noon on Fox Sports Las Vegas. 8:32 Pacific Time. Dan Duva, Gary Lawless back in our studios at City National Arena, Studio 31 in downtown Summerlin, Nevada. Thanks again to Eric Polland for stopping by. And if you want to watch Golden Knights games, watch on Nighttime Plus. Download Nighttime Plus today on your smartphone, tablet, computer, or television to watch the 2023 Stanley Cup champions live. Nighttime Plus delivers all locally televised games on Script Sports, as well as bonus content created throughout the season. Download now to tune in all season long. Nighttime Plus. If you are watching our video streams, you can see all the places that the app is available. You can download it today. Every time I talk to somebody about the app, it's amazing. It's almost amazing that something like this hasn't occurred before, but that's all part of the partnership with Script Sports, our new television home, and it's just been a terrific start with the folks there. And Gary, you're part of that on the television coverage, but it's been really neat and getting the games to more and more folks. Radio broadcast, but now television is over the air with the antenna. All great stuff. And then streaming, of course, on Nighttime Plus. Gary, the Golden Knights have won 3 in a row. They eked it out against the San Jose Sharks. Marchessault got 2, leads the team with 14 goals, and then delivered the shootout winner to make a winner out of Yuri Patera.
And I was listening to the Hot Stove on Sirius XM on the weekend, and they were saying, Vegas has only won 4 in their last 10. And this was prior to the Dallas game and prior to the San Jose game last night. And I'm listening, I'm like, yeah, they got points in 6 straight at that time. Now it's points in 8 straight, and they're 5-0-3.
Yeah.
They haven't lost anything in regulation over that stretch. So team is playing very good hockey, won 3 in a row. And they're doing all this. Like, no Aiden Hill, no Shea Theodore, no Alex Martinez. They missed Amadio for a night. He was back in last night. So it's been impressive what they've been able to do. It's a cliche, the Stanley Cup hangover, but some cliches they become so because they're true. And it is hard to win and then recalibrate your organization physically, mentally, emotionally to start a new season and be hungry and be healthy and win games. And they've managed to do that here. 43 points, 741 points percentage. The points percentage is not the best in the league. I think Boston and
the Rangers and the Bruins
are at
750.
Yeah.
But they have played 3 fewer games than have the Knights.
Yeah.
And they also have 4 fewer points than the Knights.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing is like someone will say, well, you played more, you have more points because you played more games than anybody. Yeah, they've won the games.
Right. They have been number 1 in the Western Conference since the beginning. What else can you ask for? It's about as good a title defense as you can imagine through 29 games.
Only five regulation losses. They're going pretty good through 29 here.
Eddie Olczyk will be joining us shortly. Eddie is one of the broadcasters with the Seattle Kraken, longtime with the Blackhawks broadcast, longtime national broadcaster, coached in the NHL, played in the NHL, 94 Cup champion, and, of course, a friend of ours. So we'll be asking him about the road to the Winter Classic and his thoughts on what he has seen in the National Hockey League so far. And, Gary, before we get to Eddie Olczyk, talk about the big picture here, whether it's the NHL, if something jumps out at you, or the Knights' upcoming opponents, Calgary Flames, tomorrow, and then Friday the Buffalo Sabres, and then Sunday the Ottawa Senators. Those are the next 3 games, part of the 4-game homestand. Winnable games. Every game's winnable for this team. That's a silly thing to say. Every game's winnable when you're the number 1 team in the league. And then on the road, Carolina, Tampa, and Florida. Those are the upcoming games before the Christmas break.
Calgary, we'll just deal with them. They're right in front of us. They're kind of almost the quintessential 500 team. They're 11, 13, and 3 through 27 games, and they're 5-5-0 in their last 10, and it's just they are 1 step forward, 1 step back, and I don't think they know what they are just yet, but they can be dangerous. Vegas, that went into Calgary a little while ago, and they lost that game in overtime. Vegas had to scratch and claw to get it to overtime, and then dropped it.
And since then, they've traded Nikita Zadorov to Vancouver and so on and so on. They have a game today against the Colorado Avalanche. So in a similar way to the Knights, having played on the road in Dallas on Saturday, coming back to Las Vegas, you have to travel for a game the following night. Vegas manages to win, but still difficult circumstances with the travel back-to-back. Calgary is facing that in Denver tonight and then in Vegas tomorrow night. So
yeah, the Golden Knights, completely off their feet today. None of them at the rink today, and then after Tuesday they'll have Wednesday and Thursday before they play Friday. I would imagine Bruce is going to want to give them one of those days off as well. They need some rest. I know I'm tired, and I don't have to play the games, so
feelings mutual.
Yeah.
We will step aside. When we come back, we will be joined by Eddie Olczyk, color analyst on the Seattle Kraken broadcast and a national commentator for TNT. Eddie Olczyk when we return. This is Nighttime at Noon on Fox Sports Las Vegas. .12:41 Pacific Time in Las Vegas. AFC Bournemouth is part of the Foley Entertainment Group, also known as the Cherries. AFC Bournemouth plays in the prestigious English Premier League, and they consistently take on some of the best football teams in the world. Big win the other day for the Cherries. Show your support for them by catching their matches via stream on Peacock TV. You also have Cherries merch at the Arsenal at City National Arena. That's AFC Bournemouth. Watch out for them Cherries. We are live from City National Arena It's Studio 31, Dan Duva, Gary Lawless, on Nighttime at Noon. And it's a pleasure to welcome Eddie Olczyk to the broadcast, color analyst on Seattle Kraken games and TNT's coverage of the National Hockey League. Former coach, former player in the NHL, too. Eddie Olczyk, Dan and Gary here. How are you today?
Hey, Danny, Lawless in order. Hope you guys are well. Thanks for having me. And since you're over at City National, you got to run over to the beautiful Red Rock Resort Casino and say hi to Jason McCormick and Chuck Esposito. Big fans, and it's nice to be with you guys. Lawless in order, I got to ask, who canceled on you today? I know Danny wanted me on, but who canceled on you today for you to go to the bullpen? That's what I want to know.
Well, this is how wrong you are. They were all shocked and thrilled when I texted them last night and said, I just got off the phone with Eddie Olczyk's agent, and I have secured his services for tomorrow's big broadcast of Nighttime at Noon.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. Hope you're well, and what a game last night. I tuned in, and boy, oh boy, those pesky Sharks, huh? I mean, they're not out of any game. I mean, think about their road trip. I mean, they were down 2 and 3 goals, it seemed like, on a nightly basis, and all of a sudden, the game turns into a real nail-biter. But beautiful shootout win there for the Golden Knights, and it's always fun to see, and it is great to be with you guys.
It's just such a great example. The last 2 games the Golden Knights have played in, how rest is so important in the NHL. Vegas gets to Dallas before Dallas is able to take a day off, have a practice in Dallas, and then they're fresh. They put a hurting on Dallas. San Jose gets to Vegas, on Friday, and don't have to play till Sunday. They have time off. They have a practice. Vegas plays in back-to-back situation, and sure enough, the Golden Knights up 4-2, but late in the game, the legs of the Sharks take over, and they're able to tie it up.
Yeah, you have to. Well, I think one of the benefits, and you guys know, I mean, Butchie there, Bruce Cassidy, terrific head coach and Stanley Cup champion of the year Vegas Golden Knights, a former teammate of mine when we both broke into the National Hockey League a long, long time ago. I mean, the wherewithal of Kelly McCrimmon and George McPhee of believing in the depth, right? Like having a 4-line team. So that helps you, as you guys both know, not only when the schedule gets tough, because every team goes through stretches where they're playing 7 and 10 or whatever. It might be 3 and 4. But then also, too, is, you're going to get those breaks, and then you could just end up where the schedule is in your favor. And to your point, Lawless in order, like that was the key, where they've had some rest time. And, yeah, even though it was a back-to-back, to look at it and go, hey, at least they had a chance to breathe, have a practice. But I think the 4-line depth for the Vegas Golden Knights is what ended up, being obviously a big separator come, last year in winning their first ever Stanley Cup. But everybody goes through those quirks in the schedule, and you got to play the hand that's dealt. And everybody thinks that they're over a barrel when you are on a tough stretch, and you're playing back-to-backs and the travel is tough. But there are going to be those quirks in the schedule where you're loving life and you're only playing 2 games in 6 or 7 days. But that's where you got to take advantage and put points in the bank, regardless if it's December 13th or if it's the middle of March.
If you call me Lawless in order one more time, I'm going to get a cease and desist letter from Dick Wolf. He's going to be like, "Hey, I own that name."
This is great. We love it, Eddie.
Eddie, there's some projected lineups for Team USA for the 4-team tournament next year, or for the Olympics in 26, and they all go the same way. They'll have Austin Matthews and Jack Hughes 1-2 at center, and Jack Eichel number 3. And you've seen a ton of Jack. Who's a better two-way center in the National Hockey League right now than Jack Eichel?
Well, you can't argue, because he is playing a 200-foot game, and I look at it. I was lucky enough to do those games last year, the Stanley Cup Final and TNT, and as you guys know, being in Vegas and doing a bunch of games last year, Jack is. I mean, the game, his game has gone to another level, and it's taken the Vegas Golden Knights, and like we've had this conversation over the course of the last couple of years, is what was going to put the VGK over the hump, and my feeling was always like any team that wins, I don't care what sport it is, especially in the game that we love the most, is like you got to have difference makers, and they certainly have acquired many difference makers. But I think that they were still short. That being the Golden Knights, they were still short that guy in the middle. And I think what Jack proved to everybody is that the offensive part, I think everybody knew. But the question was, nationally, is could he fight through the adversity? And boy, oh boy, did he fight through the adversity and come out on the other side and going, man, oh man, this guy is a 200-foot player. Bruce would talk about it often, as how well they played without the puck. Look at every player. There is no perfect player in the National Hockey League. Every player has their blemishes, and there is no guy that does everything just unbelievable. I mean, there are guys that are just unbelievable players, but I think for Jack, if there were any doubters going into the Cup final or into that playoff, there can't be any now. If you watch every single, and I watched every single shift, and he just so look at. There are some great players. There are some great American-born players, but you could argue right now that Jack Eichel is as good as American-born player that there is playing in the National Hockey League right now, with the way him coming off his Stanley Cup performance and the way that he is playing, the start of this year and trying to go back-to-back. So, look at having worn the red, white, and blue for Team USA at a bunch of different levels, with the Olympics back in 1984 and then playing in the Canada Cup and the World Championships is, where I'm aligned. And look at, I think we got the edge in goal. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I don't care what countries are coming, or if you want to combine countries. Like, I'll take our chances with our goaltending. And then when you look at the back end, and you mentioned the center ice position, you got a lot of options if you're Team USA. And but Jack is certainly right there and should be mentioned with the Matthews and the Hugheses and those type of players. And he could play that type of role. He could, like, you could play Jack, honestly. Like, again, this is me speaking from being a hockey guy. Like, you could play Jack, and look, you're going to have the lines numbered like we all do, 1, 2, 3, 4. But look, I would have no issue at all of putting Jack on a so-called defensive line or a checking line where, hey, we just need you to go out there and contain and play with the puck. And if you score, great. If you don't, that's okay, because they're not going to. Because I think he's that type of player. And when you play in those events, too, guys, you have to put your individual, whatever individual goals you may have, you put them to the side and you go, hey, whatever I have to do, if I'm a goal scorer and they ask me to go out there and be a defensive guy or kill penalties, I can do that too. So long-winded, I think there's no doubt in my mind Jack will be front and center. It's just a matter that the role that he gets for whoever they decide to be the head coach. But very exciting. But he is as good as a two-way player right now in the league that there is. And all you can do is go on what he did in the Cup final, and he was brilliant in that series.
Just, to extrapolate on your point of, like, you have to check your ego or your individual goals. When Doug Armstrong phoned Bruce Cassidy to ask him if he would wanted to be part of John Cooper's staff for the Olympics, the last Olympics that they didn't go to because of COVID,
right,
his response was, he said it was a 1-minute conversation. He said, Army, I'll sharpen skates, whatever you want me to do, right? So, and then Bruce said, and I don't know how to sharpen skates, but I would have learned. So, let's talk about the Winter Classic for a minute. The Seattle Kraken, Golden Knights versus the Seattle Kraken at T-Mobile Park, and you watch the Kraken more than anybody else. Not the same level they were at last year. How can they tweak things and course correct?
Well, health, and look at you guys know, the fans of the Vegas Golden Knights know more than anybody. I mean, when you are tested health-wise, and they've been tested health-wise, I mean, not only last year too, because you could argue they played the whole last half of the season in the playoffs, arguably with their best forward and Andre Burakovsky not being in the lineup. But look, injuries are going to happen. You got to find a way in and really test your depth. I think that's what's happened here in the last 15 games where they've really been challenged, and they just they probably have deserved better. They haven't won now, I think, in 8, and they played really well against New Jersey. They played really well against Tampa. They got a point out of that game, and then they threw in a dud last night. There's no other way to say it against Minnesota. I mean, you guys know how the Wild play. You wouldn't know that, and when you do get chances, you got to score, and they didn't do that. So they're going tough. It's tough right now. There's no doubt. Do I think that the record is indicated? To a certain extent, but you've had your best players have to do just that. Like, they have to be your best players, and for the most part, besides Jared McCann, quite frankly, it's been a battle for everybody else. I mean, Jaden Schwartz was playing very well. He was their best player until he got hurt. So that's really hurt them because he's a real dynamic guy and can really generate and do a lot of the good things that you need. So, Philip Grubauer got hurt here recently, so I'm not sure what the long-term effect will be, for him on that. But, they just, they dug themselves a hole here. But they do have a lot of confidence. And I go back to the game, and again, every year is different, every team is different, but I go back to the game that they played in Vegas last year, Black Friday, and I remember having this conversation with Jack Eichel and Jonathan Marchessault when I saw you guys in Dallas earlier in the year, and Marchessault went out of his way, particularly because we were just talking about a lot of things. He mentioned Seattle, and he said that game in Black Friday, like, that was as good as a game a team had played against them all season long last year. Like, and they do have that ability, but they haven't been able to find it consistently. So obviously it's a concern. But for them, I think all they're worried about is one thing, and they take on the Florida Panthers tomorrow night at home, and they're trying to end this winless streak in a bad way. So, but it should be a lot of fun on New Year's Day. I think this will be. I've been doing pretty much every Winter Classic since the first one in Buffalo back in 2009, and looking forward to being a part of our TNT coverage, and looking forward to having the Stanley Cup champions in Seattle and be able to call that game. Early start too, boys. It's 12:20 puck drop there in Seattle, so we'll look forward to seeing you guys before that, and looking forward to seeing you guys in Seattle.
Our guest is Eddie Olczyk, and Eddie, we've got just a minute left, and that's my question. It's 2 standings points, just like any other regular season game.
Yeah.
But give us, in just a minute that we have left, snapshot on the significance of this game for the teams and for the league.
Well, I think, anytime you can get 60,000 people to a hockey game, and I can't wait till we have an outdoor game in Vegas, and I'm going to be there regardless. Okay?
Yeah.
So let's just make it perfectly clear. But I just think it's great for the game. It's great for the business and the exposure that it's going to get, especially being in an unbelievable ball field like T-Mobile. And I just think it's great for the fans, too, to be able to watch and break in the new year and watch the greatest game in the world. So it's just, I think everything under the umbrella, Danny, to the heart of your question, I just think it's great. And everybody wants to play in it, right? Everybody wants the game. Everybody wants to play in it, and something that you may never get that opportunity again.
Yeah, well said. Eddie Olczyk, our guest. Eddie, thanks very much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Jason's on standby now to get your room ready for the Winter Classic in Vegas.
Hey, nobody knows how to work it there, Mr. Free, than you. Just remember that. Okay? Hey, and do me a favor. Hey, I listen to the games all the time when I'm driving.
Yeah, here we go.
Okay, let Danny get in there every once in a while. All in order, okay? Just let him get in there.
Yeah, checks in the mail, Edzo. Thanks.
Yeah, my goodness. Thanks, I think.
There he goes, Eddie Olczyk from
Brilliant.
Seattle Kraken television broadcast and, of course, the TNT coverage as well. We'll see him Knights and Kraken for the first time in the Winter Classic on New Year's Day. That'll wrap it up for our broadcast today. Boy, that just flew by. Thanks to our guest, Eric Polland, producer from Quest for the Cup and the Road to the Winter Classic, and, of course, Eddie Olczyk. Big thanks to Jared, Justin, Rachel, Ron, for Golden Knights insider Gary Lawless. This is Dan Duva thanking you for tuning in. Golden Knights home against the Calgary Flames tomorrow at 7 o'clock. We will talk to you on Scripps Sports Television and our flagship, Fox Sports Las Vegas.